Facebook meta
Let's see what we got
symbols,
going on here.
the 8s,
Start off
and
with
then I like the 1 in the front and the 1 in the middle. And just try to keep it focused.
let's see what we got going on here. Start off with some of the
I go on Facebook Live and I talk about Christianity. I've been doing it for a while.
89.7 Christian radio. We'll start with that.
I'm getting
See what
better
we're talking about.
From good parents.
At understanding.
Sir, I'll take that, sir. Don't worry about it. I'll pick it up. Thank you. Thank you for shopping with us. No, I'll take it over there. No, sir, I'll take it. It's my job. You do that, you take away my job. I'll do that. Thank you. Have a good day. Why didn't I start that? Hey, how are you? You want me to I should have done that. I know better. I'm sick and tired of COVID-19.
I'll get the camera to focus
I
better.
didn't pass the test. So take the card with you. Put all your complaints on the next card. Change things. Instead of being mad that roses have thorns, thank God that thorns have roses. Amen? Let's all stand. Thank you for your time.
The danger of chronic grumbling, murmuring, and complaining. We've been looking at that today with Pastor Pancho in the book of Exodus in chapter 6 in the Old Testament on today's program of On the Level. Now, if you're interested in knowing more about the ministry here at the Ark Montebello and as well as the radio ministry, you're more than welcome to reach us at our official website. That's the place to get all the information, various links and social media links that we have available as well as resources. Simply go to our website at
What am I on right here? This is alright. Alright, so let's go to Google.
Put a little spoiler in there. The Leventhal reference is basically
Human brain generating two ideas at the same time.
like I don't want to say The Matrix, but that would be a good movie. That would put like a visual.
Let's see if we can find anything on this.
Picture in the head that would kind of tie it together. When it comes to Christianity, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, you know, my visions of God are way beyond that.
We better know that, right? I'm gonna learn some shit in the process too.
Today's program of On the Level is brought to you by the Ark Montebello in California.
Let's try this. Let's try this one.
On the bridge. Welcome to 2-Minute Neuroscience, where I simplistically explain neuroscience topics in 2 minutes or less. In this installment, I will discuss membrane potential. Membrane potential refers to the difference in electrical charge between the inside and the outside of a neuron. This is the plasma or cell membrane of the neuron. It separates the inside of the cell from the outside environment. We'll say this is the inside, and this is the outside of the neuron. The difference in electrical charge develops due to the grouping of ions on the inside and the outside of the membrane. Ions are atoms that have either lost or gained electrons, and thus have a positive or negative charge. There are several ions that play an important role in the membrane potential of neurons. There are positively charged sodium ions, represented by these blue circles, and negatively charged chloride ions, represented by these green circles. When a neuron is at rest, the sodium ions and chloride ions are more prevalent outside of the cell. There are also positively charged potassium ions, represented by these
It's
yellow.
good, but it's. I don't think you need to understand it on that small level. This is probably good though. Yeah, this guy's probably pretty smart, if I had to guess. Resting potentials and action potentials. John H. Ryan.
Okay, why don't we get going?
Let's just kick right into gear. I don't really use time listening to build-ups. though you're super smart.
Can be less than a micron or so in diameter, so the tip can.
No.
So one question
There we
which
go.
may come to mind is, why is it important, or is it important at all, to have a duration of the action potential being very brief, 1 millisecond or so? Now remember back a couple of weeks ago you learned about action potentials in cardiac muscle? What's the duration of an action potential in a cardiac muscle cell? 1 millisecond?
Alright, you gotta talk English.
Because the two are really intimately related. The story of the resting potential goes back to 1902, when an early physiologist by the name of Julius Bernstein proposed the first satisfactory hypothesis for the resting potential. What Bernstein knew was that there was a high concentration potassium ions inside the cell and a low concentration of potassium outside the cell.
Not what we need, though. Come on, I'm gonna give you one more chance.
Of course, right? There's a whole bunch of these different donuts.
There you go.
Now, this is a big version. Here's a big version of a donut. You know what this is? What kind of ion? So potassium's inside the cell, like me. It wants to go out. Plus on the outside, and there's me negative in the inside.
Look at that
holding it back,
recording.
right?
With the red dot
So maybe that's
on top of him on the wall.
an example of how a thought is produced. I don't know.
We'll talk more about him later. Okay, so that was the hypothesis. Now, how do you test this hypothesis? Now, back in 1902, again, Bernstein didn't have the instrumentation to actually test this hypothesis. If you want to test the hypothesis, what would you do? Well, I want to tell you a very simple way of doing it. This says that the equilibrium potential is equal to the membrane potential. What is
Chicken scratch. Guy's genius.
Potassium outside.
Look at his
potassium
writing.
inside, right? So I can measure the
That makes
potassium
me know he's
outside.
even smarter.
I can measure the potassium inside.
Alright, he was much better when he came to the donut and the little stuffed animal. Let's see what we can do here. Let's
Everything I'm doing is live, unrehearsed, so.
this is it. I'm gonna have to advance a bit.
This season, I'm only invited to the elite group of competitors.
I think I looked on the Bible earlier, and I went to page 545.
Starting in dinner rounds for the trouble. That's a good job.
And it was talking about something about this wisdom. It's like secretive wisdom. It's not what I need. I search, so I can listen to a little something. I found exactly what I need, of course. So, we're gonna tie in some interesting shit here.
Jenny, where are you?
So right here is like a terraforming type thing going on. They have two machines, and they're changing the structure of the planet to make it more like Krypton. This isn't the important part.
Please don't leave me. Brother! Get your ass over here and help me! You gotta move. Here. Try that. Push up for it, okay? Good job, Mrs. Guardian. Are we cleared to make the drop? Making sure.
Alright, so I missed the part that I needed there. So look again. There's the part, so actually maybe it's in here. We'll go with it. So at this part of the movie, right?
He's better do something awesome.
Kind of centers himself, I have to say. And he gains whatever wisdom he needs. And then he kind of channels it into destroy the machine kind of thing, but bear with me, I know I'm not really making any points yet, but I'll circle around. Maybe this is it, I don't know. No. Alright, we'll come back to that. What we're gonna go to now is say something real quick.
Using legit ingredients to fry sandwich? And what's that? Wait, what's so funny? That's a problem! Jimmy John, the sandwich.
With the ads. Just the part of what? No. This is the part. Alright, so this is the part we need to see here. I'll bring it back to 316 and we'll watch from there, even though it's a little early. Fuck it, just let it roll from here. Alright, you see this thing? You see this thing? This thing is like a twisting, turning snake, right? Watch it. No matter which way Superman goes, it pretty much anticipates his next move, and it's able to, like, you know, it's able to capture him. So let's try to see that again. Pay attention here kind of quickly. Did I go back to the wrong spot or what?
When you're clear for gate.
Hold on. Alright, real quick. You watching? There it is. So you have this thing that basically it forms out of nothing, right? It has all these arms, and they basically anticipate every move he's gonna make, Even though he's ripping it, right? They finally catch up to him. Then they wrap him up. I guess they throw him to the ground or some shit. Alright, so that part's done. We're gonna go to this. Right, we're gonna go to this now.
Make an agreement with you for you to take it as your slave for life. Who is then able to stand against me? Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. Will it speak to you?
Sorry. Just want to show you this. So we're looking at this one right here. God and Satan, right? Job's book. So we're going to go to this, right? Then he's going to speak of, if I had to guess where. That's
in your house. Will traders barter for it? Will they divide it up among the merchants? Can you fill its hide with harpoons?
Alright, so we'll back it up a little.
God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. Okay, so we got to look at the first few.
So we know, yeah, we know that. You know, that's a pretty much basic, that scared the fuck out of me. They really did. This is my phone. Alright, so that's the beginning of creation, like ABC. Pretty much the story we all know. Right? Now, further in the book of Job.
So this is God justifying himself to Job. He says, can you pull in Leviathan with a fishhook, or tie down its tongue with a rope?
So we look up this Leviathan, right? We'll look him up real quick. Quick second. If I can just look him up. What Leviathan is, and I will find the part that's in here. I don't want to misuse my words because what I'm trying to explain and I don't know, teach, not really teach. I'm just sharing kind of the way I'm looking into it. So Leviathan, twist and turn. That's not gonna work. I'll try it again. Leviathan, twist and turn. This thing's being difficult with me, huh? I don't really need the definition. I can just articulate it. find it and see. Not a big deal. Alright, so this is gonna, give me a second. So they say that you can't, you know, like in the beginning, God speaks into existence creation, right? Then he creates Adam and Eve, apple of knowledge. They eat it to become self-aware, they're ashamed of their nakedness, and they begin to hide from God because he calls out for them. And then he comes to where they are, they're hiding, and he says, you know, you must look around whatever it is they're hiding behind. And he says to them, what are you hiding for? I see basically everything. When I was listening to some of these videos with pastors and other people that have, you know, clerical knowledge, they were talking about not only their understanding of the Bible, they were talking about how they went up against some kind of hard opposition. They persevered through it, and then they were brought into like an inner circle of very wealthy, powerful people. Now, one little tidbit I took out of one of these people's content was the human brain can't produce more than one thought at the same time. So God, in the beginning of creation, creates the heavens and the earth, creates Adam, creates Eve, and is able to know every single thought they have and know exactly where they are. How can you go from not being able to produce two thoughts at the same? It's like if we're gonna talk about religion, we gotta really like hit it, like we gotta hit the nail on the head, so to speak. If Leviathan is like a twisting, turning, snake or some kind of monster, right? And you're like Superman, say, you know, you bust the left, you bust the right. Everything you do is one-dimensional. You know, your brain says go left, you go left. It ensnares you in it until it has you, you know, wrapped up. It's just the way it works. Now, if Superman could kind of split himself in half, you know, produce more than one thought at the same time, then he might be able to better evade the arms of the snake of Leviathan, right? Bear with me, I know this is brutal, and I'm not really getting into it too good. So let's jump back to this.
Can you put a cord through its nose or pierce its jaw with a hook?
Picture, this part he's talking about right now is that snake that Superman was running from. The same snake that reads your thoughts. You can't come up with two thoughts at the same time. Anything you come up with, it just wraps it around. Okay? So let's listen.
Speak to you with gentle words. Will it make an agreement with you for you to take it as your slave for life?
No, it's not going to make an agreement with you. What it's going to do is, it's going to constantly, you know, just steer you wherever the hell it wants you to go.
Make a pet of it like a bird, or put it on a leash for the young women in your house. Will traders barter for it? Will they divide it up among the merchants?
No, no one can control it. No one can control it. It was literally something that God had to conquer himself.
Fill its hide with harpoons or its head with fishing spears. If you lay a hand on it, you will remember the struggle and never do it again.
So if you start to discover it, it'll you know, wrap itself around you and like throw you to the ground like Superman was.
Any hope of subduing it is false. The mere sight.
Any hope of subduing it is false. That's not true. It's so not true that the timing when it's said is close to my numbers. I think 502 it said. Keep going.
The weight of it is overpowering. No one is fierce enough to rouse it. Who is then able to stand against me? Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. I will not fail to speak of Leviathan's limbs, its strength and its graceful form. Who can...
Its limbs. Alright, so basically saying, if you can only produce one thought at a time, this thing will keep you in check your entire life.
Strip off its outer coat. Who can penetrate its double coat of armor? Who dares open the doors of its mouth, ringed about with fearsome teeth? Its back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. Each is so close to the next that no air can pass between. They are joined fast to one another. They cling together and cannot be parted. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like the rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks
I wouldn't pay any attention to any of this.
of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from its nostrils as from a boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath sets coals ablaze and flames dart from...
Have you heard how people are using their own saliva to help revive their teeth and gums? A breakthrough discovery.
Strength resides in its neck. Dismay goes before it. The folds of its flesh are tightly joined. They are firm and immovable. Its chest is as hard as rock, hard as a lower millstone. When it rises up, the mighty are terrified. They retreat before its thrashing. The sword that reaches it has no effect.
Is worthy of talking about. So if you discover this Leviathan, this snake, twisting, turning snake, that literally, the second you start having an idea that would put you outside of being enslaved, it has a way of like interacting with your what you're thinking, where it'll put you, you know, right in check quick.
Spear or the dart or the javelin.
You can't use any weapons against it.
It treats like straw and bronze like a rotten wood. Arrows do not make it flee.
Can't shoot anything at it.
Slingstones are like chaff to it. A club seems to it but a piece of straw. It laughs at the rattling of the lance.
So basically no weapon can be used against it.
Its undersides are jagged potsherds, leaving a trail in the mud like a threshing sledge. It makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron and stees up the sea like a pot of ointment. It leaves a glistening wake behind it. One would think the deep had white hair. Nothing on earth is its equal.
Nothing on earth is its equal. I don't know about all that. Don't worry about any of the turning up dirt, you know, churning the ocean. None of that shit's relevant. Just know it's something that exists, that God had to conquer, that can't be, you know, manifested in a physical form. So you can't use any kind of physical weapon against it.
Without fear. It looks down on all that are haughty and is king over all that are proud.
But it knows every thought you have. It knows every thought you have. And anything that falls out of alignment with, like your spiritual compass being aligned with Jesus, it'll pretty much use that against you.
Well, so what's God doing? He's describing what he defeated in order to create the world.
Now think about that. He defeated this twisting, turning, brain, stalking, knows your every thought. He defeated it in order to create the world. So let's just listen.
That's Marduk and Tiamat. Okay, so that's one reference like that. All right, so now another reference like that. This is from Psalms 74. Yet God is my king of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. Thou didst break the sea in pieces by thy strength. Thou didst shatter the heads of the sea monsters in the waters. Thou didst crush the heads of Leviathan. Right? That's the creature that we just heard described. Thou gavest him to be food to the folk inhabiting the wilderness.
No, I didn't even venture into
Now,
that.
remember, so when Marduk defeats Tiamat, he cuts her into pieces and makes the world out of her pieces. And here what's happening is that the force that encounters the Leviathan is able to break it into pieces and feed everyone with it. Now,
it doesn't like to be detected. So everything cool that I've done on here and everything that I shared was after like 2 years of kind of just tiptoeing around this Leviathan to the point where I didn't really have to think too much anymore. Like, I could sit here and have the conversation without anything abnormal happening because I kind of got past the running around part, more or less at the bottom where Superman was standing with before he shot up to break the machine. But for 2 years, I literally had like a spiritual or mental fight with this privacy hacking. No one gets above, like, no one can get out of line and get to the front of the line. It prevents you from doing it. And the shit is highly the shit is sweet. The Leviathan fucking knowing your every thought and keeping you in line, it's got a lot of talent. A lot of talent. But at the same time, you can't use any weapon against it. It cannot use any weapon against you. It can't manifest in a physical form. So all it can do is like put mental stress on you to keep you in line. However, if you do persevere through that, and it took me like 2 years, 4 trips to jail, almost death experience, and you can align your spirit with Christ, and then you can be selfless. Like, this thing only works when it knows what you want. So on that note, we're going to go to another thing real quick. It can only work against you when you're trying to acquire something. If you're just live and like, you're where I'm at, like, I don't even give a fuck anymore. It's like, it's not that I don't give a fuck. It's that I've tried so hard, so many different avenues, and every one of them was like a dead end, that right now I got used to not planning out anything. Each day I just get up and go with the flow. So now we gotta look at this other, it's beautiful, because I can feel like the clarity of mind I had a second ago, and I can feel like it just jumps in, because it knows where I'm going with this. Stuff I was gonna pull up. Oh yeah. The Adjustment Bureau. So we're gonna watch this part.
I've traveled every road in this here land. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. I've traveled and had my share, man.
How this is really teaching Christianity to anybody else, I don't know. But that's why I don't plan this shit. Picture this is like a visualization of Leviathan. These individuals. If you watch the movie, you'll understand. Hold on a second. I tried to turn the volume up. Alright, let's try that again.
You really think I couldn't see that coming? I can read your mind.
So this is beautiful, because here it is, you have like a great visual representation. If Leviathan could speak, this is what it would be saying.
Yeah, really. Pick a color. Blue. Pick a number, 17. Now, why are you still thinking about running?
See what it did to him? It bugged him out a little. Now we gotta go advance ahead into the movie. And we gotta get to a different part. If I can find it. Most likely I'll be able to find it. Because even Leviathan eventually gives up. Go ahead, Leviathan.
If you reveal us, even if it's unintentional, Richardson has automatic authority to reset you. You mean lobotomize me? Try not to forget it. The only 4 p.m. vote.
So that guy that he's talking to, he's part of the Leviathan crew, but he kind of goes, you know, a little rogue, because he feels a little empathy for Matt Damon's character.
Ask your questions. I'll tell you what I can. What were they doing to Charlie? Just changing the way he weighs investment risks, which will subtly shift the direction of his company and the way upstairs wants. So Richardson could read my mind? Richardson was trying to scare you. No, he knew the number I was thinking of, the color. Because he set it up as a choice. Choose a color, choose a number.
So if you can only think, you know, choose. Too selfish. No questions, by the way. Leviathan will know the probability of what decision you'll make.
We can't read your mind or hear your thoughts. When you make a decision, your mind weighs options. We can perceive that. We know when you're going to go off the plan or not, because if we're close enough, we can sense when it's going to happen. We're just here to keep you on plan. That's all we're authorized to do. Are you allowed to be telling me this stuff? I mean, are they following me now? We have to monitor the entire world. We don't have the manpower to follow everyone all the time. And there's something about water. It blocks our ability to read your decision tree. Are you an angel? We've been called that. We're more like case officers who live a lot.
Go ahead, keep going.
And why won't they let me be with Elise? All I know is the amount of resources they've used, keeping you from her is pretty damn important to them. You're going to look for her, aren't you? You won't find her. They'll make sure of it. Even if they weren't trying to stop you, there are 9 million people in this city. You'll never find her. Forget about her. Move on with your life.
This is a great movie, by the way, too. So how does the being able to produce 2 thoughts at the same time and the Leviathan thing work? Well, somewhere in the fucking mix, like cats that are like running the world, billionaire motherfuckers. You know, I don't want to even like point out like any specific group of people, but they have some kind of understanding of what I understand, and it was like, I know what I discovered. They pretty much, I don't know how the fuck they manipulated it. I'm not even, you know, I don't even have the train of thought to picture how you could use this for your own financial thing. But when they get in positions where they got like a good idea of what's going on and enough resources to pretty much box you into a corner, the Leviathan thing takes over and ensures you stay in that fucking corner. It's pretty crazy, actually. So let's read a little of, I'm gonna bust out the, take out the Bible real quick. We're gonna go to that page in the book of Job, and I'll read read it a little because it was interesting, whatever it was.
Yeah, keep going.
As much as I can each day. Contents there to, page 545 from earlier today. So it says, suck a dick, man. I'm way past that. Yeah, automatic loading my ass. If there did exist, like actual, spiritual beings, angels, so to speak, didn't have me hog-tied over here. So, chapter 28, and it's so funny, because that's like such my number, 28, that's my number. The inaccessibility of wisdom, right? So, let's just say you're sitting at your house, and, you're not really, like, worried about, the weekly routine shit. Let's say you're trying to take a little bit of free time, and you're going to think a little bit more broad. You're going to try to find out like a unique, intuitive, light bulb going off to improve yourself. You're not going to have access to that wisdom. That Leviathan thing is going to ensure that thought process stops. So we'll read here. The inaccessibility of wisdom. There is indeed a mine for silver and a place for gold in which men refine. Iron is taken from the earth, and copper is melted out of stone. The earth, though, out of it comes forth bread, is in fiery upheaval underneath. Its stones are the source of sapphires, blah, 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 blah. But whence can wisdom be obtained? In the world in 2022, 2,000 years of, people being privileged and, resources and assets, being acquired. They got the market pretty much cornered. They got a monopoly on shit, right? So how can you obtain wisdom? You can't. You're just running around chasing your tails, and they live good. You're basically a slave. This is why I'm the one, though. Just remember this. I don't even know what the fuck it's gonna say, but I'll read it. Relationships is like fingers of you hand. One cannot do much. Everything I've been pretty much discovering and uncovering, for that matter, has been for the benefit of the masses, to get the knee out of your back, to get the foot off your head, to get you off the ground. Why? Because you're living your life in a financial prison, so to speak, and you can't even enjoy life. I mean, I'm not even talking about character, morals, or anything else. Let's just say, whatever the circumstances are, you could be anyone, from any nationality, from any culture, anything. If you're not rich as hell, and you're struggling to get by like anybody else, and then you have a relationship, and that relationship, with family members, or, if whatever your nuclear circle is and your extended family is, you're basically removed from experiencing any kind of emotional or spiritual connection, because you're a slave to money. You know what I mean? And the cats on top just keep you running in circles, so that they can build this, utopia, which they, to themselves, feel is, cultivating the planet. God said, here's the earth, all animals and creatures are under your dominion. cultivate the earth and subdue it. You know, build your towers of, you know, Babel or whatever it's considered. Yeah. So we got modern civilization, cities, you know. We're not out here busting, tilling the land, and you know, we're working smarter, not harder. But right now we're at like this influx point where the people that are building this easy kind of lifestyle are about to like snap the rubber band of socio-economic equality, and they're going to separate themselves, and then the masses are going to be fucking like dirt poor, pretty much the 1992 movie Free Jack. If you're not a millionaire living in, like, you know, the cush parts of the city, there's gonna be a fucking war zone and you know, hell. So I just feel like everything I went through, everything I learned, and all the wisdom that I obtained through perseverance, most likely my purpose is going to be to stop that from happening. And I could really give two fucks about that group of individuals as a whole. Like, I don't have to worry about like developing an enemy or two enemies or five enemies, you know, highly powerful people, because even their numbers have gone up. Like, they don't know where to point the finger. They're in competition with themselves right now. And it's like God just slid me under the rug, so to speak. But messing around with that Leviathan thing and kind of like internalizing all of these events. Like, I internalized all my emotions and all my thoughts. And I'm watching shit happen, and I'm watching my family, and I'm watching, like, you know, this odd-ass behavior. Like, you know, they're not even picking up on it. But their emotional response to the situation I was going through had no humanity in it. It had no heart in it. It had no soul in it. And I'm like, yo, that's not even normal. I know, I'm like, I'm 40 years old. I'm like, my whole entire life I know these family members. I'm like, they're just, what they're saying, and when I try to like back channel it into their spiritual or their emotional, heartfelt, what I would project for them to think about, how it would feel to them, and how they would respond to it. It's like that Leviathan thing was like in full fucking control of these motherfuckers. Which led me to constantly and unyieldingly just keep searching for what the fuck was wrong. And I've learned a lot, and I pretty much shared everything about it. Just for shits and giggles, we'll do two things real quick. Number one, we'll switch to the FM radio.
Chapter 1. These are the words of him.
You saw how that hit? You saw how that number one and then FM radio? You saw that? So that was right on. That was dead on the money.
And the Omega, the one who is from everlasting to everlasting. Kingdoms rise and fall. Dynasties crumble. Rulers fade away.
And he gave me what I needed to know. So, God was the only one that could not only like encounter this Leviathan thing, but slay it and create the earth after he did so. So this Leviathan thing would technically be equivalent to the devil, right? The only thing in competition, envious and jealous of God, right? But it can't be slain. Like, literally, it can't be slain. But it could be controlled. It can be controlled by somebody that has insight to its existence in the first place. And is not trying to do anything, it doesn't have any intentions. So if you're live, selfless, and you got like a Rolodex of experience with this thing, this is not what I want here. I mean, I probably should just let it play, actually, because I've seen this guy at probation. He talked about the book. I'll jump right into 8 minutes and 50 seconds, and then I'll turn the volume up.
Get rid of your ego and surrender first. This will unsettle your opponent, and they'll not know what to do.
See that? You see how I was talking about selflessness? And then the Leviathan thing being your opponent? That was the first time I ever even clicked on that video. We gotta finish this right. Give me a second, alright? This is, now I'm going to show you the end of this thing. Oh, this is such a good part. We're going to go to this just because of the quality of it.
Far away from here in Red Hook.
This is what I'm talking about.
We have a rule in my neighborhood.
If I were to try to, write a sermon, that shit would be all over me. And half of the things that come out live would never come out. By just hitting live and following, like, the Holy Spirit with ego removed, I know when something has value to it, and then by the time I click on it and it begins, it's like, you're moving in milliseconds at that point. That thing it's not that fast.
Not in the fight. It wasn't whether or not you got knocked down. It's what you do when you get back up. I came here to tell you tonight that I will get back up.
This is the good part of it. This is where he opens up his heart and just listen.
We didn't have that saying.
Bullshit. We didn't have that.
This is one of those phrases that had some traction with the focus group, and so we kept using it, but it's not true. In 1998, I did a cover story for GQ. The title was Youngest Congressman Ever. And since then, every story has tried to explain how I got here so fast. And the word that people kept using was authentic.
Authentic.
But here's the problem. This isn't even my tie. This tie was selected for me by a group of specialists in Tenafly, New Jersey, who chose it over 56 other ties we tested. In fact, our data suggests that I have to stick to either a tie that is red or a tie that is blue. A yellow tie made it look as if I was taking my situation lightly.
You see how he said our data? Now, this guy's running for Congress. I'm talking about people in positions of governing over society, the puppet master, so to speak. Like, they have psychoanalyzed us, and then this fucking, I don't know if it's like a frequency, if it's a sound, kind of totalitarianism, controlling AI software or some shit. But they know everything about us, and they got something that keeps us from, getting to where they are.
I may, in fact, pull my pants down again at any moment. A silver tie meant that I'd forgotten my roots. My shoes.
Scuff.
Shiny shoes.
Certain amount of scuff.
With high-priced lawyers and bankers. If you want to get a working man's vote, you need to scuff up your shoes a little bit, but you can't scuff them up so much that you alienate the lawyers and the bankers, because you need them to pay for the specialists back in Tenafly. So what is the proper scuffing amount? You know, we actually paid a consultant $7,300. Was it $7,300, Charlie? $7,300 for a consultant to tell us that this is the perfect amount of scuffing.
Problem lies.
Speak clearly.
It's one thing to be in control, govern shit, and be like ultra responsible with the money. But if you're spending and wasting money just to keep people from, you know, joining the job of keeping shit in line, you're creating a fucking vacuum that's gonna suck everyone in, both sides. The people in positions of control, and also the, you know, the people that they basically got.
Enslaved. I didn't say it, but
Let's,
where the train of thought would have went.
I'm not gonna finish that thought. I was gonna say something about you getting robbed, but I'm pretty sure if you followed my, this is good right here. I forget what this guy says. Let's jump in.
Thank you very much.
20 minutes long.
Thank you.
It's 10:49. Let's try 10:49 in
Well,
the
thank
thing.
you, President Powers, Provost Fenves. Today, you didn't measure up. A circus meant more fatigue, and more fatigue meant that the following day would be more difficult, and more circuses were likely. But at some time during SEAL training, everyone made the circus.
Now, isn't that crazy? He just talked about SEAL training, and that I keep going to that Mount Calvary Cemetery, and then I looked up that F. Howard Seaman guy, and I found out that somebody from New Jersey with that same last name passed away in 2020 after Hell Week. You know, training to be a SEAL. After Hell Week, the guy passed away. After the physical. Just keep following me.
But an interesting thing happened to those who were constantly on the list. Over time, those students who did 2 hours of extra calisthenics got stronger and stronger. The pain of the circuses built inner strength and physical resiliency. Life is filled with circuses. You will fail. You will likely fail often. It will be painful. It will be discouraging. If you want to change the world,
Go
be
smooth.
afraid of the circus. Fail.
So
More difficult, and more circuses were likely.
maybe they were gearing up to
But sometime
have
during
somebody
SEAL training, everyone
go through one and went through.
made the circus list. But an interesting thing happened to those who were constantly on the list. Over time, those students who did 2 hours of extra calisthenics got stronger and stronger. The pain of the circuses built inner strength and physical resiliency. Life is filled with circuses. You will fail. You will likely fail often. It will be painful. It will be discouraging. At times, it will test you to your very core. But if you want to change the world, don't be afraid of the circuses.
Yeah, so I'm not afraid of the circuses. Everything you said was true. But it did more than, you know, I didn't change the world at all so far. I'm still learning. Huge amount. But I'm just going to finish this with the right thing. So, give me a second. The Adjustment Bureau final scene. Something there. That's really important. So this is rewriting the ending of the story. The video.
We have the time of our lives.
Can you see that? It says.
When you have money, no one is ever really your friend.
It says rewriting the ending scene. Okay. So if I do learn something, and I am sharing it for the right reasons, this is what it should end up leading to. get diverted from the sentimental part. Wait till the book comes out. Yeah, that's normal human emotion, you know, the same shit we all get sucked into, and you know that Leventhal is like, alright, I ain't got works, and it only comes after you. Once you try to go from predictable to, you know, game changer. We're going to come to a part where there's going to be a book. You see how the weather just changed?
Did you really think you could reach the chairman and change your fate if you did, or write your own? It doesn't work like that, and I told you why.
No. That guy's name is Thompson. He's like I guess you would equivalent him to, he's the head of, he's like the top angel. I'm just gonna let this finish. Watch the book part.
I've got a message for you.
You said this book?
I understand. Even Thompson has a boss. Harry? No. You've him, though. Or her. And everybody has. The chairman comes in a different form to everyone, so people rarely realize when it happens.
And that's definitely possible. Easily.
Is this some sort of test? In a way. It's all a test. For everybody. Even the members of the Adjustment Bureau. David, you risked everything for Elise. And Elise, when you came through that door at the Statue of Liberty, you risked everything too. But you inspired me. Seems like you inspired the chairman too. Is that about us? Yes.
So what that is right there is if this Leventhal thing that exists that only God was able to outmaneuver and then slay to create the world.
Should have said Jesus Christ was able to.
This would be a good depiction.
I should have said Jesus Christ.
Of how that thing works.
What does it say? It says that this situation between the two of you is a serious deviation from the plan. So the chairman rewrote it.
See how that just went white? So that Leventhal thing, and I don't, it's a pain in the butt, but I'll do it. Every single person on the planet, and every fucking decision that they could possibly make, within reason, you know, you're basically stereotyped. They have the ability to ask you questions. It's not even ask you questions. They just know based upon stereotyping you what the probability of you doing certain things are. The thing is way more sophisticated than that. Hold on a second. I gotta find it again, if I can. Alright, bear with me. Come on.
I wrote it.
Alright, take a look at it. Don't worry, I part of the book here is accounts for every fucking thing on the planet. 7 billion. That guy William Peterson said at 9 billion, the system that governs this book ain't gonna be able to handle that many small little details, and we'll have a big population decrease so it can still effectuate and manage shit. What I've learned, and you know, whatever the divine intervention, Holy Spirit, however you want to chalk it up, my goal is to now free that up. Okay. I guess you would say slay the Leventhal, because after that, if you notice, there was no boundaries. There was no policing every single person. But we'll see what happens. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. You get one more treat before I end it.
Come on, birds don't trip on
One is this fortune cookie. I'll be quick about it so that I can end it on time. I'll read it. Sometimes the object of the journey is not the end, but the journey itself. And then alright, I'll go for it. I'm starting to trust my abilities. Ready? Alright. This is only half the book, so right there, gotta work. We'll look at it together. That is page number 76. Which is close to 77. I like that. Maybe 77, something good will happen. And then the damp mark is right there. So, started in on it, but none of them saved. And the chances of this being relevant to like anything I said, you gotta understand, they're non-existent. So if this does make sense in any kind of way, that should disturb you. It won't disturb me though. So that part, what is this thing out of focus for, man? Don't mess with me. Kidding me or what? There you go. Yeah, for more than a year. Had worked with it as long. Data for more than a year, which meant that no one else alive could see the data. Yeah, I'm onto something. There you go. And I don't have to get excited about it or emotional about it. Something overall good is guiding me. So it should be at least a little bit interesting for me, and hopefully terribly exciting for you guys. So, here's a third thing that wasn't even part of it.
Listen, brethren, when you come together, in other words, every one of you has a psalm, has a doctrine, has a tongue, you know, speaking in tongues, and has a revelation, and has...